In the heart of Chicago, where shadows cling to every corner and hope is a luxury few can afford, a young man named Ethan Carter grew up with a fire in his eyes. He saw the cracks in the world around him, the broken promises, and the lives swallowed by the streets. He dreamed of a different life, one painted in brighter colors, far away from the gray reality of his troubled neighborhood. But dreams have a way of shattering when faced with the harshness of life. For Ethan, that shattering moment came when his family was ripped apart by a storm of violence and betrayal. The world he knew collapsed, leaving him and his younger sister, Maya, adrift in the wreckage. The innocence of his youth was stripped away, replaced by a cold, hard determination to protect Maya, to shield her from the darkness that had consumed their family. Ethan made a choice. He stepped into the one world he had always sworn to avoid, the criminal underworld. It was a descent into a realm governed by its own brutal laws, a place where survival was the only currency that mattered. He told himself it was temporary, a necessary evil to keep Maya safe, to give her the future he could no longer have. He started small, a pawn in a much larger game. But Ethan was different. He was smarter, faster, and driven by a purpose that burned brighter than simple greed. He learned the rules of the game and then began to rewrite them. His rise was meteoric. Fear and respect became the two sides of the same coin bearing his name. The whispers in the back alleys and the hushed conversations in smoky rooms all spoke of Ethan Carter. He became a force, a ghost, a legend in the making. He built an empire on the very foundations of the system that had failed him, believing he was forging a new kind of justice. But power is a seductive poison. The lines he had drawn for himself began to blur. The quest for justice for his family started to look a lot like a thirst for power. The man who had entered the underworld to protect his sister was becoming the very monster he sought to fight. He was trapped in a gilded cage of his own making, haunted by the reflection of a man he no longer recognized. Was this justice? Or was it just a more organized form of the chaos he had escaped? The price of his ambition was weighing heavily on his soul, and the further he climbed, the more he lost of the boy who once dreamed of a better life. Just when he thought he had buried his past, a new revelation clawed its way to the surface. A hidden truth, a long-buried secret about the night his father died. It wasn't just a random act of violence as he had been led to believe. It was a calculated betrayal, a conspiracy that reached the highest echelons of the world, he now commanded. The men he had come to see as allies, even mentors, were stained with his father's blood. The foundation of his new life was built on a lie, and the entire structure came crashing down around him. Suddenly, his journey took on a new, terrifying clarity. It was no longer about power or even protection. It was about revenge. The fire in his eyes, once a symbol of hope, now blazed with a singular, destructive purpose. He would burn it all down. He would make them pay. Every single one of them who had a hand in destroying his family. He began to hunt them, using the skills and the network he had built, turning the underworld's own weapons against its masters. One by one, they fell, their empires crumbling under the weight of his fury. But with each act of vengeance, a piece of himself crumbled too. He saw the fear in Maya's eyes. Not fear of the world outside, but fear of him. She saw the darkness consuming her brother, the man who had sacrificed everything for her. He was winning his war, but he was losing the one person he had sworn to protect. The cycle of violence he was perpetuating was no different from the one that had taken his father. He was becoming his own worst enemy, destined to repeat the sins of the past. This brought him to the ultimate crossroads. He held in his hands the power to exact his final revenge, to destroy the last man responsible for his family's pain. But he also held the power to stop, to forgive, to break the chain of violence that had shackled his life for so long. It was a choice between the past and the future, between the ghost of his father's memory and the living, breathing hope in his sister's eyes. Revenge, a path that would offer a moment of satisfaction, but an eternity of emptiness. or forgiveness, an act that felt impossible, yet held the only key to true freedom. The decision Ethan Carter makes in that final moment will not just define his own destiny. It will send ripples through the entire city, changing the fate of everyone tangled in his web. The loyal, the treacherous, the innocent, and the guilty. His choice will determine whether he is remembered as a vengeful king or a redeemed man who found his way back to the light. This is a story about the heavy price of ambition, the unbreakable bonds of loyalty, and the profound strength it takes to choose forgiveness in a world that demands revenge. It's a journey that asks us all, how far would you go for justice, and what would you sacrifice for redemption? Thank you for watching this story unfold. If you were moved by Ethan's journey, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories that explore the depths of the human spirit. Let us know in the comments what you would have done in Ethan's position. We'll see you in the next one.